Here are 10 must-have PlayStation 4 games that you should be playing. Bloodborne is the type of game that can induce PTSD, the kind that will keep you up all night cursing yourself and lack of skill, but then one day it will all click and what emerges has to be one of the most gratifying experiences available for the PlayStation 4. Developed by From Software, Bloodborne introduces us to a beautiful, nightmarish world inhabited by extremely difficult enemies that will have you ordering a replacement controller after about 2 hours of play. If you haven't already guessed it, this game will kick your ass. The combat offers a great risk and reward system due to its lack of defensive options like heavy shields or armor, and even though this feels pretty strange in the beginning, you get used to it pretty fast. Rushing around the battlefield, poking and dodging enemies will all become second nature as you make your way through the campaign and unravel the many mysteries that make up the story. I've got to be honest, I had a real rough time with Bloodborne, and you'd think for that reason I would not recommend it, but the way in which the game rewards those who stick with it is something that can truly not be missed. Gravity Rush 2 is an outstanding sequel that improves upon everything that made the original so great. With a lot of the aspects that defined the first PlayStation Vita adventure now returning, Gravity Rush 2 manages to expand upon many of them whilst introducing a few of its own. There are two new gravity shifting styles that increase or decrease gravity's effect on your character, which really helps break up the action and even adds an extra layer of strategy when approaching situations. The simple act of walking and jumping now feels incredibly fluid and allows you to traverse the world easily whilst taking advantage of these new gravity-defying abilities. You take control of Kat, the returning hero from the first adventure, and are tasked with dealing with the repercussions of the first game's events. It's not exactly groundbreaking stuff, but it managed to keep me engaged throughout the duration of the campaign. As you would expect, the visuals are incredibly vibrant and showcase perfectly what the PlayStation 4 is capable of, with only the occasional frame dip and camera issues getting in the way of pure perfection. Drive Club is a really divisive game. There are people who swear by it and others who wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. And it's not hard to see why, as when the game launched it was nothing other than a total mess. Unfortunately though, this is what most people consider when talking about the game now. Revisiting Drive Club all this time later, it is clear to see the amount of love and effort that has gone into redeeming one of the more promising PS4 launch titles. You really need to go back and check out everything that has changed with the game. It is practically an entirely new experience with all the new tracks, vehicles and modes that have been added over the years. The main aspect of Drive Club is having the ability to either create or join clubs that accumulate points depending on your actions within each race. For example, if you take a corner perfectly, your club is rewarded, but if you manage to screw it up or basically just drive around like an idiot, you don't only drag yourself down, but also the club as a whole. One of the most important characteristics of any driving game has to be its gameplay, and Drive Club does not disappoint. You won't find yourself slipping and sliding all over the place or coming up against incredibly realistic handling. It's more of a hybrid of the two. As you can see, the game is still gorgeous, and with the amount of content now on offer, you will find it hard to run out of things to do. Developed by Square Enix and released in 2016, on the surface it's easy to write off Dragon Quest Builders as a Minecraft clone, but once you dig deeper, pun totally intended, you will find that Dragon Quest Builders has more to it than just building or destroying. There are quests and a main story that you follow, which will lead you through an incredible journey with some surprising twists and turns, all building to a satisfying conclusion. Combat, though very simplistic in nature, is fleshed out enough to warrant its inclusion, but I honestly would have preferred to see something deeper and more rewarding in place. Nonetheless, the game is fun with comical story elements and light-hearted visuals, gathering resources and building fortifications, gear, weapons to defend your towns from invading monsters. It's all really fun. If you're a fan of Dragon Quest or even like Minecraft, this game is a must-buy. Somewhat of a hidden gem on the PlayStation 4, Tearaway is a series that began life on the PlayStation Vita and was brought to us by the same minds who created Little Big Planet. The game takes place in a vibrant world made almost entirely out of paper as you take control of our hero, who is tasked with delivering a message to a portal in the sky known as the U. Small, evil creatures inhabit the world known as Scraps, with the gameplay revolving around manipulating the environment in order to overcome the confrontations with them, rotating platforms, triggering boundaries, bounce pads, illuminating objects and hurling items all contribute to your progression and add to the godlike fashion of your presence in the world. Tearaway Unfolded finally puts the touchpad on the DualShock 4 to use and requires you to draw some of the game's items on the pad. I really like this feature, but it was a lot easier in the PlayStation Vita version, mainly due to the larger drawing space available. Another interesting feature is the use of the DualShock 4's light bar that helps to illuminate certain parts of the world when pointing the controller at the screen. Again, another cool little feature that helps you connect with the world that bit more. Overall, Tearaway Unfolded is a great platformer that unfortunately has gone by unnoticed. Go and check this one out. Developed by Enhanced Games, Res Infinite was originally released way back in 2001 for the Dreamcast, but has recently been re-released for the PlayStation 4 with full VR support to boot. The game is set in a futuristic computer known as Project K, as you take the role of a hacker who is tasked with rebooting the computer's AI known as Eden. Consisting of 5 areas, the first 4 are divided into 10 levels, each with a boss at the end, whereas the final area sees you fighting variations of the previous bosses. Essentially an on-rail shooter, Res Infinite pushes the boundaries and mixes gameplay, sound and visuals in a way that few other titles have managed to do. Beautifully crafted and including the sort of creative gameplay that matches its striking visuals, Res Infinite is just as much an experience as it is a game. Released in 2017 and developed by Koei Tecmo Games, Nioh is heavily inspired by the Dark Souls series, but it manages to introduce many aspects that more than help it stand apart from its contemporaries. In much the same way that Bloodborne will make you question your sanity, Nioh will scratch that itch, but in a far more immersive and stylish way. You take the role of William Adams, the first Englishman to travel to Japan in order to become a samurai. The story does well in establishing the setting and atmosphere of the experience, but won't be winning any awards. Nioh is all about the gameplay, and on that level the game succeeds in creating a rewarding experience for the PlayStation 4. The gameplay takes many cues from the Ninja Gaiden series and offers 3 separate weapon stances that all serve their own purpose in overcoming the many obstacles that will block your progression. The phrase "know your enemy" could not be any more relevant when it comes to Nioh, as it really pays off to study each of the enemy's patterns and animations, as half of the fun is figuring out ways in which to overcome their barrage of attacks. Nioh is both fun and difficult, but it never broke me down. There is a lot to this game and I highly recommend it to both newcomers to the genre and hardcore gamers looking for a bit of challenge. The 4th entry in Naughty Dog's flagship series Uncharted sees our hero Nathan Drake dragged back into the world of treasure hunting for one last hurrah. We find Nathan working a job for a salvage company and living out his life with Elena after the events of the previous game. Uncharted 4 introduces Nathan's brother Sam into the story, and without spoiling anything, the game manages to hit some truly emotional highs and offers a respectful standoff for one of the most prolific characters in years. The gameplay remains tight as you would expect from the series, but instead of throwing wave after wave of enemies at you, Uncharted 4 opens up and offers the player a variety of ways in which to progress. May that be through stealth or just balls out action, the game has got you covered. It was nice to see Uncharted 4 take this route, as admittedly the combat within the series was beginning to become a bit stale. Visually, this game is nothing short of incredible and really shows off what the PlayStation 4 can do. The huge, impressive vistas demand to be taken in as you make your way through the campaign, but it's the small details that really draw you in to one of the best looking games to date. After what seemed like an impossible wait, The Last Guardian finally released and in my opinion lived up to the hype that had been building for nearly a decade. Developed by Gen Design and famed director Fumito Ueda, the game is an incredible journey that manages to reach the same heights of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, albeit with a few gameplay and frame rate issues that can become incredibly frustrating, but nothing that completely ruins the experience. I won't go into the story too much as I feel it is central to the game. The Last Guardian revolves around the relationship between a young boy and a creature known as Trico. It touches on the themes of isolation and companionship as the bond between them grows throughout the duration of the adventure. Watching Trico transform from a scared beast into an immensely loyal protector is one of this generation's best moments and something you should definitely check out. The Last Guardian feels like a culmination of everything that was present in the games that precede it and offers up something truly unique to the player that deserves your time. Developed by the team who brought us Killzone, Horizon Zero Dawn is a brave new step in Guerrilla Games history, and thankfully in one word, a masterpiece. If you're a fan of the open world genre, the game has managed to redefine the formula we have all become so used to. Gone are the incredibly annoying side quests and collectibles from the likes of Assassin's Creed. Instead, each mission and action within the world feels connected and meaningful. You take the role of Aloy as you unravel the incredible mysteries that make up the game's world. Everything will manage to draw you into the incredibly rich universe Guerrilla Games has managed to create, with Horizon Zero Dawn being one of those games you will have trouble stepping away from. The whole experience is intoxicating. I really cannot stress how impressive the character of Aloy is. Her compassion for the people and world around her is something we rarely see in games and goes a long way in crafting the more memorable adventure. I could not talk about Horizon without mentioning its incredible combat. Taking many cues from games that precede it, Horizon combines many aspects of the games we all know and love to create some of the most intuitive and memorable gameplay in recent years. Aloy feels incredibly fluid as you take on the game's many robotic enemies, and is fully capable thanks to the array of weapons and skills that offer an incredible amount of variety when approaching situations. Truly deserving of the #1 spot. If you have not had the chance to experience this game for yourself, go and pick it up.